Welcome and thank you for joining us for today's DealerOn webinar, How to Give Awesome Sales Team Training in Only 10 Minutes a Day. My name is Eliana Raggio and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by DealerOn. For anyone who isn't familiar with DealerOn, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency best known for our amazing SEO, the best customer service, and the highest converting website designs in the industry, including the award-winning Chameleon responsive website platform. When we got back from NADA, we were awarded the Driving Sales Dealer Satisfaction Award for top-rated websites for an unprecedented 6th year in a row. We also took home the AWA Award for Best Websites, plus FCA announced that DealerOn is now an approved vendor. Big things are happening over here at DealerOn this year. We're still the only company in the industry that offers a money-back lead guarantee program. Do you want to know more? Yeah, you do. You can check us out at DealerOn.com. By the way, I'm going to be emceeing the 3rd Annual Women in Automotive Conference. This amazing event is July 9th through the 11th in Orlando, Florida. And we're going to be focusing on training and retaining women in our industry to improve their skills, advance their careers, and find the highest level of success. So if you want to make your way to Orlando in a couple weeks, well, I'd love to see you. To find out more about the Women in Automotive Conference, please visit womeninautomotive.com. Ooh, I hope to see you there. We have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have Jennifer Suzuki as our presenter today. Jennifer Suzuki is the founder and president of eDealer Solutions, Inc., an award-winning education and activity-based training company focused on improving dealership showed appointments, sales, and management process. Her 21 years of experience includes president, eDealer Solutions, in-dealership sales trainer, 3-year guest instructor at NADA Academy, an NADA multi-year convention speaker, OEM, state association, and 20 group speaker, and a Northwood University graduate. She has a tremendous reputation for delivering significant success to dealerships looking for up-to-date phone skills and profitable actions that convert non-present buyers to showroom customers. She can be reached at jennifer@edealersolution.com. On July 19th, I want everyone to know about this, Jennifer Suzuki, along with her good friends David Kane and Corey Mosley, they're hosting an amazing conference in sunny Irvine, California to help dealerships get the most out of their digital side. These 3 powerhouse figures in automotive are sharing their experiences and knowledge with you in the Internet Sales Performance Summit. Hey, by the way, DealerOn's very own Sean Rains, also known as The Hare. He's a featured speaker at this show. He's going to be talking about the impact of search engines on your dealership. So don't miss this one, guys. For more info, I want you to check out InternetSalesPerformanceSummit.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, we're going to try to respond by email later today. Don't forget, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording is going to be emailed to you later today for your reference, and feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our good friends over at eDealer Solutions, they're giving away an awesome prize on today's webinar. One lucky attendee is going to win an Echo Dot. Awesome prize. But you have to be on the live broadcast to win it, though, so stay tuned. And who knows, you might be the one walking away with this cool prize today. And at the conclusion of this webinar, you're going to get a short survey. It's only 3 questions, but we're going to ask you to please fill it out because we're always looking for quality feedback from our audience. We want to hear what you have to say. And hey, do you tweet much? We hope you do. We'd love to see what you have to say about today's presentation. So please tag us in it. You can use hashtag DealerOnWebby. I'm at Eliana Raggio. You can also hit up Jennifer Suzuki at Jen Suzuki or at eDealer Solution. We look forward to seeing what you're saying. All right, everyone, let's get started. Let's learn how to give awesome sales team training in only 10 minutes a day. Jen Suzuki, I love having you on my show. You are hot. I mean, you always bring the goods. You do. It's never a bad show when I have you on. And you picked an awesome subject today because I think that there's a lot of people in the automotive industry who, if they feel like the training's going to take too long, they'll just forego it. They just won't even do it. And that hurts everyone. So I love that you're saying, hey, you can give quality training in only 10 minutes a day. This I got to see. So Jen, I know it's going to take you longer than 10 minutes to tell us how to do it in 10 minutes. But thank you so much for being here today. And by the way, congratulations on that summit that you and David Kane and Corey Mosley are hosting. I love both of those guys. So I think the 3 of you are an incredible trio. So Congrats on that.
Yeah, no, and thank you for inviting me again. I'm really excited to share some of this information with your listeners. The topic today is something I'll be incorporating into that summit. So I hope that if you haven't already checked out ISPS2017.com, make a note of it, ISPS2017.com. Make a note of it, check it out, check out the agenda. We have really amazing speakers with some forward-thinking, progressive information, and I'll be taking this topic here and expanding on it in so much detail. So I hope you can join us. Let's get into this. How do you give training in 10 minutes or less? I'm going to share that with you here today, and it does take a lot of planning. That's really how you're the easy answer to that question. But today, we really want to be able to focus our thoughts, and our goals on developing curriculum. And it's not just curriculum, but it's curriculum that has an order to it, right? So you want to stack skill sets. That's a word track that I kind of coined. But I say it all the time because if you're training on negotiating, closing, upping customers, setting appointments on the phone, using the CRM, all of these things can get confusing to a person working in the dealership because it's too many topics that are all over the place. But when I say stack a skill set, I mean I'm going to talk about logging a customer in the CRM this week and the functionality of that. Tomorrow I'm going to build on that, or next week I'll build on that and I'll talk about contacting that customer in the CRM. Maybe it's a first day thank you for your showroom visit email. And then the next time that I do training, I'm going to talk about the next thing that makes sense in an order. When you have a curriculum that builds skill sets, this is really where we help people grow and thrive in the dealership. So today we're going to get into a little bit on those areas. I really hope that you'll be able to organize a meeting that is not a burnout session. We tend to do that in the dealerships. I watch sales meetings all the time, and I can say people go in with good intentions and then they burn people out when that meeting is supposed to be just a few minutes, which turns into 30 minutes, and it's still going, people. I'm looking at my watch like, dang, it's 45 minutes. Okay, nobody is learning anymore, but your stories are good. Your stories are captivating. Oh my God, are we really an hour in? And that's what happens in a lot of dealerships, and unfortunately, people don't walk away with enough information to be able to go back and execute. So a lot of information gets lost that way. So today I really want to be able to show you how we can organize 10-minute training sessions, and most importantly, be mindful of the time. Be mindful of your organization process to get you that outcome. Effectively engage your team through activities. What I mean by this is once you identify how to organize a 10-minute meeting and execute it, the one thing that you want to make sure happens is that people can apply the content on the spot. That's how you know they understood it. So they got to do that. Before you walk away of that 10-minute meeting, you need to make sure your audience knows how to execute, right? So I'm going to share some of the process with you today, but everybody has to develop activities in the dealership for implementation, right? So then we'll get into our giveaway and we'll do a Q&A at the end. For those of you that don't know me, I'm originally from California. I reside in Colorado, but I have been around the circuit for a long time. One thing that I want to just point out in my history is that today it's a culmination of information that I execute in dealerships. I tend to focus on a lot of training efforts every single week in dealerships, and what I'm going to share with you today took me the last good part of 3 years to, I would say, it's never perfect, but it's a work in progress, and in the last 3 years I've made a lot of mistakes with what I'm going to share with you today, and arriving at a point where a 10-minute meeting is a sweet spot. It started off as like a 30-minute meeting, a 15-minute meeting. The sweet spot really is 10 minutes, but I also execute this at the NADA Academy, where this is a great place to get an ongoing education in the dealership, but I see every student every month, and this is something that I execute with them, and I have to tell you, our feedback is so phenomenal that I really wanted to share a topic with you today that I know is relevant. Most importantly, it works. So stay connected with me. I do a lot of information sharing on social media, so if you get a chance, friend me or get on one of these connections here or one of these social networks here and connect with me. All right, let's take a look at some alarming statistics here real quick. I won't spend too much time on this, but here's the problem, okay? The problem right now is that in dealerships, we have an extraordinary amount of turnover. We are coming out of one of the biggest record-breaking car sales years. Ironically, I'm looking at statistics and I'm like, wow, people in the car business make a lot of money. I mean, the average salesperson's making $77,000 a year. I mean, freaking, this is the place to work. I mean, you got a good salary. You have a place that's thriving with product and consumers that want it. So why is it that our turnover is so high? Why is it that people don't even, I mean, only 33% of people making it to 3 years at the dealership? I mean, that's a problem. The thing is from a manager perspective, you will invest a lot of money, a lot of time into get to bringing people up, right? Getting them the training, spending your time coaching them, and a lot of resources. And for them to bounce on you, you got to start over. What's worse is consumers are going to repeat the cycle in 3 years, and then their car guy isn't there anymore, and you wonder what we lose from that turnover as well. So why do people leave in 90 days? I mean, a lot of good reasons. They're probably not trained up, and they're not making any money, and it's time to hit the road and move on to something else. It's an epidemic that continues to remain an epidemic, and this is the problem that I have with this this situation in the dealerships is we've got to nurture people. We got to help people grow. We got to help people succeed. There's a lot of growth opportunities in the dealership, but we have to make sure that we're onboarding them effectively, and most importantly, that we're spending time helping people be successful. So this is really something to be mindful of as we entertain this content here a little bit further. But first, we have a quick question for you.
Yes, we do. First of 3 poll questions is on your screen now. We'd love it if you got involved and let us know your answer to this question. We want to know, what percent of your manager's day do you think is spent on training employees? Now, if you are a manager, we want to know what percent of your day do you feel you spend on training employees? So please select one of the following options. A good portion, maybe 50%. A quarter of my day, 25%. A nice chunk, probably 15%. Hardly any time, maybe 5%. Or training? Training? We're talking about training here. Okay, I'm from Philadelphia, so anyone else from the Philly area knows what I'm playing on there. Okay, so what percent of your manager's day do you think is spent on training employees? A good portion, about 50%, a quarter of your day, 25%, a nice chunk, maybe 15%, hardly any time at all, maybe 5%, or training. Aha, Jeff Kolaski, you know what's up. Yes, that is exactly who I was referencing. I don't know if I should tell everyone. Bravo, Jeff. Okay, so the votes are coming in nice and fast. Jen, we do have a good chunk of people who've already answered. So you let me know, maybe a few more seconds, and then we'll close this poll and share the results.
Sounds good.
All right, everyone. Audience, I want to thank you in advance for checking out this poll question. Ooh, lots of people just voted now. All right. Checking out this poll question and giving us your answers. We're going to close this poll in 3, 2, 1. All right, poll is now closed. We got 2 more poll questions coming at you in a little bit, but for right now, let's check out the answers to this first poll question. Okay, only 6% of today's audience say that their manager's day is about 50% spent on training employees. Wow, 6%. 50% of a manager's day is a lot. Okay, 16% say it's more like a quarter of the day. 19% say, hey, a nice chunk, maybe about 15% of the day. The majority, overwhelming majority, 52%, more than half of today's audience say hardly any time at all. Managers maybe spent like 5% of their day training employees. And then the last 6%, yeah, they're just like Allen Iverson. Training? We're talking about training here. All right, Jen, I don't even know what the right answer is. Is there a right answer to this? I mean, a manager's job is to manage employees. So how much of their day should be spent on training?
So I would say that you should at least give yourself at least a 20% of your day. And it's not a fact, and there's nothing factual about that percentage. I just put that number out there because I know what it takes to groom somebody to get them up to speed. And the thing is, and that stat, it's kind of like, it could be less, it could be more. Depending on the people that come into the organization. Here's a fact. I mean, you have a lot of millennials coming into the organization that has never sold a car before, that knows nothing about selling cars, and you expect them to learn the product, the process, the paperwork, the CRM, how to sell cars, how to email customers, how to text customers, how to do videos, upload to social media. I mean, right? It's just overwhelming.
Oh, and by the way,
So
also
there
learn
might be
something or
yeah.
another about the cars too, the stuff that you're selling. Yeah, you should probably learn something about that too. Yeah, when you put it that
Well,
way, it sounds really hard.
well, it is a hard job. I think it's a very difficult job, and it takes a strong management team to really help people thrive, right? But I will say statistically, and based on my own personal experience, it's 5% of the day managers spend training.
And it's
Yeah,
not
it's kind
enough.
of alarming. It's never enough, is it? I mean, you gotta help people thrive, and I say this over and over and again. So today we're focusing on that, creating that talented and dedicated workforce that will help us reduce turnover, and that bottom line, increase our return on investment, right? By preventing people from taking all of your good training and bouncing to another organization. We talked about building skill sets earlier today, and oftentimes I look at this picture and I think this is just the way it is. If I was new to your organization, I'm coming in, I have no foundation, and we got to work on building me up to be able to do the right amount of cars in your dealership, 15, 20, 25, whatever the number is. But if you expect people to continuously grow, we've got to give them new information. First thing that I want to suggest is that you have a game plan for the people that are in your organization now, or the people that you will be bringing into your organization. This is the first 90 days of employment. I would call this an apprentice. You have a training program. So I'm thinking, as you're even interviewing, you're showing people that we have a training program, here's what it looks like, and as you build your own, I'm looking at a 3-year game plan, because remember, statistically, we got people that are bouncing at 3 years. That's really where we want to be able to ensure that people are staying on for. I'm going to show you the first year, and if you're interested in seeing a 3-year game plan, email me afterwards and I'll send you a 3-year game plan. But the first thing is you're like, achievement number 1 is we got to do our new hire training. Then we got to do our product or factory training. And then you got to sell 12 cars in the first 90 days. And you just want to have a game plan so people kind of know where we're going. This is the first thing. If you're going to create training curriculum, you need to know this backbone, right, of what curriculum you're going to create based on your achievements that you want somebody to attain. Now, for me, I believe that the phone is the moneymaker. For all of you that do know me, I'm obsessed with phones at the dealership. I'm really big on communications via phones, emails, texts, chats, and all that. So I would say that for somebody new coming into the organization, maybe you bump up the phone, internet training to maybe even the first 30 days. But I'm just throwing that out there because I kind of feel like that's one of those areas that you can help people get acclimated to talking to customers by calling just your orphans. In any event, level 2 is your sales associate. Maybe you're putting in some phone skill training here, talking about used cars, your certification from the factory, moving 25 cars. And so here, it's, again, what's your game plan to helping somebody thrive and achieve in your dealership, and where can they go? So if I'm entering your organization, I want to see, when is it that I can achieve being a finance manager, or being a sales manager, or what's my next level up? And so when you look at a 3-year game plan, it gives people an idea of what we're trying to accomplish for people. And again, I'm just going to show you here. Again, you're just looking at a set of, oh, I'm sorry, I went too fast there. Trigger happy. Level 3 is our consultant. Again, you're just looking at a variety of different areas to focus in on as you're training. All right. So I hope that's helpful as you decide, what's going to be most important to you. I'm going to pull one of these topics out of here, and we're just going to look at it in a little bit more depth. Okay, so the question to you is, do you have curriculum for your managers to use to build those skill sets? Now, I say every week. I suggest being able to have 3 goals every single week. Now, you need to figure out what your genre is going to be in the coming weeks. That way you can have everything in a systematic, sequential order. My genre today is going to be phones. I love phone training, so I'm going to pull out that one section that we just looked at, and we're going to look at it in a little bit more depth. Okay, now this again is what helps you create curriculum that's time efficient. You need to know what your order is going to be. So genre phone training, for you might have said your genre is walk-ins, your genre might be data mining, you know, whatever. I would just know where you're going so you can create topics underneath that genre so that you have something to tackle in the weeks to come. And you want to have some weekly goals on each one of your training approaches. You also want to create tools and handouts and have activities designed for your team to be able to show you that they understood the content. Right? Okay, so let's ask one more question, and then we're going to get into the guts of this.
I know what I'm doing. I'm a professional. All right, that's right, everyone. Our second poll question is on the screen now. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. All right, the question is, does your dealership currently provide an ongoing structured, that's the key, structured series of phone and internet training to build skill sets? What we're looking for is, does your dealership say, okay, you have to master this one before you can move on to this one, before you can move on to this one. So it's like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, when we're talking about an ongoing structured series of phone and internet training to build up on those skill sets. Please select one of the following. Is it yes, and it's working great for us? Yes, well, sort of. It's more sporadic than structured. Kind of, but we aren't consistent with training at all. They think they have one, but they really don't. Or training, ain't nobody got time for that. I know, I'm bringing out all the memes today. All right, so does your dealership currently provide an ongoing structured series of phone and internet training to build skill sets? Well, the votes are coming in fast, and once we get a larger majority of the votes, we're going to close this poll, share the results, and we're going to see what everyone else had to say too. But I want to thank you in advance already for getting involved with our poll questions. After this one, we have one more poll question coming up, and we're looking forward to the Q&A session. So if you have questions for the one and only Jen Suzuki, get those questions in. She is a wealth of knowledge, and I dare say not too many people have the kind of background that she does. So seriously, ask her anything when it comes to training inside the dealership. She is amazing. All right, Jen, if you're ready, we're going to close this poll and share the results.
Let's do it.
Do it. Okay, only 9% of today's audience say, yes, they do have an ongoing structured series of phone and internet training to build skill sets. Only 9% said it's working great for them. Now, here we get to the nitty-gritty. 30%, so nearly a third of today's audience say, yeah, we have that kind of, sort of, more sporadic than structured. All right? The majority, 33%, said kind of, but they admit they're not consistent with their training. So that's kind of dangerous for a third of today's audience to not be consistent with their training. 21% of today's audience say they think they have one, but they really don't. Our dealership really doesn't take training very seriously. And 6% of today's audience says, training? Ain't nobody got time for that. I hope I did that justice. I mean, I thought my AI impression was better. But okay, so Jen, I'm getting from this question that you're telling us that every dealership should have an ongoing structured series of training specifically for phone and internet. Is that where we're getting it?
I would say you would want it for every category. I'm a little partial to phone and internet. This is what I do for a living. But, yeah, I mean, listen, let's just take that one area. In my opinion, phone and internet is a significant amount of opportunities in the dealership. If you don't have curriculum for that, we got problems. You know, if we're just focusing on walk-ins, we got problems, you know. And so, and I think that if you're looking to restructure or update, modify, upgrade, however you want to call it, your training program or create a whole new one altogether, you know, you really have to look at like the vast amount of categories that you would want to create training sessions on. So yeah, I would say let's look at something in a little bit more depth, right? I mean, you could easily be a prairie dog, you know, one of those animals that love to live in those crazy environments with all sorts of threats every single day. You got to close deals. I mean, prairie dogs, they live in like hailstorms, blizzards, floods, droughts. They never know what's going to be on their plate.
Do they?
And that's really a lot like sales managers. Yeah. It's a lot like sales managers' days, and that's why it's so hard to put together something that's effective at helping people thrive, right? Because you're dealing with so many fires on the course of the day. Your environment is so out of control. That's why you want to plan in advance. So I'm going to help you do that right now. Let's just say you were to dissect this one genre of phone internet training. On week 1, I could be talking about 3 aspects to convey, which could be like trust, time savings, respect. These 3 things I want to incorporate into all of my communications. Maybe week 2 is I want to make sure that I execute week 1, but at the same time I'm being mindful of my internet leads and reviewing the information before I contact so I can create that outcome. Week 3, I'm going to be leaving an awful lot of voicemails when I call those internet leads, so we probably need to hit up a process for that as well. And then I'm going to start talking about our phone call. My outbound phone call, I want to hit up my introduction. The next week, how I'm going to sell myself. The next week, how I'm going to get vehicle flexibility and options. I would then maybe get into how do I tie a second person to the appointment. So maybe in that 4th part of the phone call after I've attained vehicle flexibility, I might have just focused on tying a second person to the appointment. So that way it creates more meaning to the appointment. And then setting the appointment in week 8, I'm going to show them 10 steps to making sure that we get an appointment to show on time. All of this is building skill sets here. Then we should evaluate our phone calls, listen to some recordings, and then hit up our inbound calls. So then in week 10, we're doing our introduction on our inbound calls. How do we obtain prospect contact information, evaluate those phone calls. I mean, the thing is you can see, you can change all of this up. This is just a visual aid for you, our audience, to look at, because when you build curriculum that is executed in time-efficient manner, you have to know where you're going, because you're thinking about the past, you're thinking about the future, you're thinking about where you are this week, and tying it all in together. So again, a lot of different ways to kind of go about your training curriculum, but one thing that I know for certain, and I was just given this from a general manager in a dealership just a few weeks ago, and I thought, I'm going to put this in here. People generally remember 10% of what they read, 20% of what they hear, 30% of what they see, 50% of what they see and hear, 70% of what they say and write, 90% of what they do. So the point of this, and there's a copy of this presentation today in case you want to go back and look at this in more detail. The point of this is that you want to make sure that you have activities. You want to make sure that they can see what you're doing, that they hear what you're doing, what they're being trained on, and that they actually execute. They have to do the work. So we're going to skip that poll question real quick, and we're going to look at this structure. We're going to map out our meetings in advance. This is a worksheet that's attached to the presentation, and we'll look at it when we get a little bit further towards the end of the presentation. You'll have this attachment, but this is a worksheet that I use in dealerships. The first thing is my training topic, inbound phone calls. I have my goals and objectives, and then I have 3 actions that I want them to take this week. My examples are going to be of those actions, so that way the audience is clearly understands what it is that I'm training on, what it sounds like or what it looks like, and when I demonstrate it, that's me tying together all 3 of my actions. So that way your audience understands not only what the 3 goals are, the 3 actions that you want them to take this week, they have examples for each one of those 3, and then when you demonstrate, you're tying it all together so your audience understands clearly what we're trying to accomplish and what it's going to look like, sound like. The last thing I want you to recognize is that's very important to have a trainer activity. This could be a role play, this could be a call evaluation, this could be putting people on the spot to come up with closed-ended questions. Whatever is related to your training topic, I personally just like to Google this part because it's so hard to come up with something other than a role play, which is what most people tend to go towards. Having them write out their day 1 voicemail, their day 3 voicemail, their day 15, day 60, 1 year voicemail. You need a playbook, right? The emails, activities might be get together in a group of 3 people and you guys develop your unsold showroom visit email that you're thanking them, right? In any event, I would Google that and come up with some training activities so you can engage your audience. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. This is a worksheet that I develop my training meeting so that I can execute this in 10 minutes or less. How long is it going to take to do something like this? I would say for a newcomer, it's going to take you 30 to 45 minutes. When I work in dealerships, I have managers do this, and so I'm timing it, and that's what I'm referring to right now is the outcomes that I've seen. I've seen people type these up, write them out, but remember, the more meetings you write in a sequential order, you're actually developing an onboarding new hire training manual. So if you can stay focused on this for the next year, at the end of the year, you're not only going to have go-to meetings, you add any managers into the mix, they know exactly what your process is in your dealership, what you're training on, and they have those go-to meetings already pre-made. You onboard somebody, you need to help them with what's expected. They can skim through your playbook with all of these meetings, and we'll take a look at some details, which would ultimately be tools for each one of these for each salesperson or somebody in your audience at your dealership to read and to help them with their execution. So the first thing is that you want to put that training component together. So when I'm looking at that worksheet, the very first thing is I'm kind of thinking about my genre. So again, I'm going to use an example today of incoming sales calls, one of my true loves. The next thing is I want to make sure that I have my topic, my objective, and my goal, okay? So my topic is going to be inbound call greeting. Now, don't go crazy. Remember, we're stacking skill sets. You don't want to be like setting appointments on an incoming call because now you just fast forward to the end and you left out the guts. Take it one step at a time. My suggestion is you pick one training format, one training topic, and use it per week. Literally, launch it on, like, let's say a Monday. You got to pick a date and a time. You got to stay focused. You got to stay committed. You don't stray from that date and time, and this is what's going to help you. It's going to be hard at first to not only develop this curriculum, but to stay committed to that date and time. You got 3 teams. You got to do it 3 times. That's what you got to do. It's going to be really hard at first. Like any good thing, it's going to take a little bit of a mind change, a mindset shift, and a refocus, and you get people on board to help you be a part of this progressive change. You can do this. So our topic, incoming call greeting. Next week it's going to be different. It might be leading questions. It might be selling yourself. But setting appointments not going to come for a while because we're going to take this section by section. And you might be saying, oh my God, we could do those all week. Every day we could do something new. I've done that. My suggestion is that you do one training topic per week. It's very easy. You already have a lot of objectives in the dealership to tackle and conquer. So don't make this too overwhelming, all right? We need to make sure that in our training topic that your team knows exactly what we are going to be focusing on, and they need to know what the objective and goal is. I'll share some more details with you on those here in a minute. But you need to also select 3 actions, 3 goals. So if it's an incoming call greeting, I might say, okay, I want you to do a name swap. I want you to do a pleasantry, and I want you to ask a close-ended question. Those would be my 3 goals. Nothing too overwhelming, and mind you, I've downsized my vocabulary and my words so that way it's not complicated. You might come up with some crazy long sentence like, you know, why you want them to do this for your goals, but you really just want to use less words. That way you can make a bigger impact. I'll share some more details with you in just a second. Let's just kind of see where we're going. Okay, so now my 4, my 5, my 6th step is that once I've identified my training topic, my objectives and goals, what they're going to learn, what's in it for them, I've identified 3 actions, 3 things that I want them to do this week. I need to create examples of those 3 actions. So when you look at that worksheet and you see examples, You want to make sure that you create anywhere from 1 to 3 examples per action. So if my first action was name swap, my first example, again, would sound something like, thank you for calling ABC Motors. This is Jennifer, and who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? That's one example for name swap. Thank you for holding. This is Jennifer, and you are? A second example for name swap. So I hope this makes sense. You need to create examples to help emphasize what you want them to do, because they may not understand what name swap means. Then, once you've created your 3 actions and you have 1 to 3 examples per action, map it out. So maybe on paper right now it's like 1, 2, 3, and then under 1 you have 1, 2, 3. Under 2 you have 1, 2, 3. Under 3 you have spawning off 1, 2, and 3. Just as a quick reminder to come back, the more examples you give people, it helps them with creativity, flexibility, and allows them to be their own person, unless you want to have them follow a hardcore phone script. Then your actions would be exactly what you want them to say, right? Okay. In the demonstrate section here on step 5, this is where you want to tie all of your 3 actions together. So you've given them 3 actions: name swap, pleasantry, closed-ended question. You gave them like 3 examples for each one of those categories. Now you tie it all together. So let's just say my 3 actions were name swap, pleasantry, closed-ended question. My pleasantry is going to sound something like, thank you for the call today. Hey, nice to meet you. Thanks for calling in today. Pleasure to meet you. Any of those 3 examples. My closed-ended question might be, are you looking at a new or pre-owned vehicle? My closed-ended question might be, are you calling for service, parts, or sales? My closed-ended question might be, are you online looking at a vehicle now? Now let me demonstrate this and tie it all together. Thank you for calling ABC Motors. This is Jennifer, and you are? Eliana, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for the call today. So that I could best direct your call, are you looking for service, parts, or sales? Boom. Training done. This is the guts of the training right there. So I would walk into my meeting and I'd put my 3 actions on a whiteboard for more clarity. But what's most important is that you bring a handout to this meeting. You've got to have a handout, and the handout is actually your examples. So what you just saw, and visually try to see this on paper. Action 1, name swap. Action 2, pleasantry. Action 3, close-ended question. On paper, I'm charting this out. And remember, I've got my 3 examples per action. That's your handout. So if you plan this in advance, you can actually create a handout for every single training meeting. And everyone that's listening, I have to tell you, if you want to change something in your dealership, if you want to see people thrive, if you want to make sure they understand what you're trying to execute as far as your training topic, you've got to give them a handout. A lot of things happen in that course of that meeting. People get distracted as soon as they leave that meeting. They got voicemails and emails and people standing in front of them, and they completely forgot what you just trained on. And that's why you need to have that handout. The next thing that's going to make this thing so powerful is you got to make sure they understand what you're trying to say. And you got to have a training activity. I know I talked about this earlier. Just Google this thing, right? You create an activity. This is what's going to help your audience execute on the spot right now. But you're going to want to play this thing out in your mind, because you don't want to get up in front of your team and be like, all right, guys, we're going to do an activity. And then you don't really know the details of it. Or you just are like, we're going to role play. And you're looking at everybody like, okay, you just go ahead. You go first. They are going to look so lost, and it's going to be confusing. And a lot of times it can be very embarrassing for people. And if we don't nail this in the first several meetings, people aren't going to want to come back to your meeting. And they're not going to take you seriously. So get your meeting in order, get your activity in order, know your details. You know, who are you going to point to and say, you're going to play the customer, you're going to play the salesperson, and I want you to execute all 3 actions all at once. And then I want you to swap roles, right? So just know where you're going with this. The last thing, and I know I mentioned this already, is you've got to have that handout. And again, just putting those examples together will give them that visual aid. Remember that chart we looked at earlier? You want them to hear the message, see the message, do it. I follow a simple strategy I learned at the NADA Academy from one of the instructors, Tom Carney, who's a good friend of mine. He taught me this structure and it stayed with me and resonated, and it's for life. Teach, demonstrate, apply. Teach the lesson, demonstrate what it sounds like, have your audience apply. So that's your backbone. So just remember that when you're writing your training meeting out, is you want to teach a lesson. You want to demonstrate what it sounds like. You want to be crystal freaking clear. Use visual aids like whiteboards, PowerPoints, and then make sure that you have that training activity. So let's go back through this one more time. Let's look on the screen. First thing, remember, my training topic was incoming call greeting. My objective and goal is what they're going to learn and what's in it for them. What they're going to learn, what's in it for them. It might sound like this. All right, team, today we're going to focus on the inbound call greeting. Now, when you get leadership of the call and you distinguish yourself from your competition, you're going to reduce obstacles and lead the call into an appointment so you can sell more cars. The reason this meeting becomes 10 minutes or less is because you've strategically focused on each one of these components and made it so clear and concise. You're not telling crazy stories. You're not giving a bunch of examples. You're keeping on topic, and you're keeping the data, or I'm sorry, the information that you're covering pointed. What are they going to learn? What are they going to learn? They're going to learn how to get leadership of the call and distinguish themselves. What's in it for them? Reduce obstacles, set an appointment, sell more cars. Remember, the next part of that worksheet was you've got to identify 3 actions. Now remember, I identified my name swap, my pleasantry, and asking a close-ended question. You can kind of see it here, how easy it is on paper to put down and see less words, clearer understanding. The 3 actions is what you want your audience to do. What do you want them to execute? I would put this on a whiteboard as soon as I walked into the room, and I would refer to it, especially as I'm referring to my examples, so that they can visually see where you're going. Now remember, those 3 actions are not just up on the whiteboard or flip chart, they're also on your handout. Then I've got my examples. My examples are the actions and what they're going to sound and look like. So remember, I suggested that you have at least 1 to 3 examples per action. So action number 1, it might sound like this. Again, this is on your handout. Thank you for calling ABC Motors. This is Jennifer, and you are? Or, thank you for holding. This is Jennifer, and who I have the pleasure of speaking with? Or, thank you for calling. This is Jennifer, and with whom am I speaking with? All of these are different ways to execute action number 1, a name swap. So I might even have this like on a PowerPoint if I'm like super ultra overachiever, but you don't need to do that. I would just at a minimum have this on your handout. Okay, my action number 2, remember, this was my pleasantry. This, in my opinion, slows people's roll on a phone call, so this is something I like to do every single time. So it's kind of like this. Nice to meet you, Eliana, or thank you for calling in today, or nice to meet you and thank you for calling today. I like these examples because it gives people flexibility to be their own person. It gives people an opportunity to see that, hey, you don't have to do it the exact same way. I mean, I'm not training people to be robots, but I am making sure that you understand the content and you know what we're trying to accomplish. Action number 3, remember, that was a close-ended question. So it might sound something like this, guys. Are you calling for service, parts, or sales? Or are you calling for a new or pre-owned vehicle? Or are you calling about a vehicle you saw online? Any of these would work. Now, I suggest 3 because I find that's the sweet spot, is to give people 3 options. However, you might come up with 5 or more. I think the more examples you give people, the easier it is for people to understand what it is that you want them to do. Now remember, the next part of our worksheet was to demonstrate, right? We want to make sure that we put this thing into effect for everybody so that they know what it is that you mean in 100% clarity. So tie all 3 of those actions together. Thanks for calling ABC Motors. This is Jennifer, and who am I speaking with? It's a pleasure to meet you. So that I can best direct your call, are you calling for service, parts, or sales? Thank you. Are you looking at both new and pre-owned vehicles? Now remember, don't get held up on my words and my questions here. I'm just tying the examples together, and yours might be significantly different. So that's totally okay. I just want you to see what I mean, and just know that there's a lot of flexibility in how you present your curriculum. So I hope this is helpful. The last thing that's really important is that you have the audience engage in activity. So I would do, in this case, like a back-to-back role play. Put everybody in a circle and start it off. Okay, Joe, you're first. You're going to play the customer. Susan, you're next. You're going to play the salesperson. And then Susan, you're going to play the customer. And Tom, you're going to play the salesperson, right? So you just keep going around the table. And it can happen in literally less than a minute. And then now you know that everybody understood what it is that you just trained on. So I'm just going to take a moment real quick, and I'm just going to show you. I've just taught this person here at a dealership what you just learned. He's gone back to his dealership in an impromptu training meeting in 10 minutes or less. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'd like for you to kind of get a chance to see what this might sound like. So let me just click on here and give me 1 second while we pull this up.
Yeah,
I think
hopefully,
I've already got it up.
the audio is loud enough.
What we're going to go over today is selling the hobby, selling the hustle is what I call it. We're going to let the customer know what.
Can you turn the audio up?
What's the legwork that we do before the customer shows up? Everything that we have to prepare for their arrival and sell a car. What this is going to do is going to help raise your appointment rate. Customers are going to respect your time. They're going to show up on time. It's going to help you set more appointments, where in turn, we sell more cars. And that's what we're here to do, right, folks? We can't do that until we set the appointments and get the people in. Right? I have 3 key points that I want you guys to make sure every call we go through the customer with these questions. 3. All right? Those 3 are going to be, we're going to pull the vehicle out before they get here and have it ready for them. Every customer needs to know that. We're going to save the customer parking space. We're going to make sure when they get here, they don't have to search for parking. This is San Francisco. That's going to stand out to them. No one else is going to tell them that. When they hear that, they're going to perk up. They don't have to look for parking. Number 3, my favorite. We're going to have the appraiser ready for you. We're going to schedule an appointment with him. So that way, I brought somebody else in the appointment. They're not only clicking on me, they're clicking on the other guy too. Most people, they're going to take that pretty seriously. All right. Now, if you look there, I have some examples for you for each one of my key points. I want you to look at those examples, but I also want you, I want these key points hit every time, but I want you to put your own personality on it. I want you to put your own twist on it. But those key points will be hit every single customer, every single time. All right. Well, what we're going to do, I'm going to do a quick activity, which is going to be maybe 3 minutes. The reason I want to do this is I want you guys to break off in teams, and I want you to work together on this, and I want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
So I'm not going to keep playing that, but just recognize that literally was only 2 minutes, right? Are you still there?
Oh yeah, it was a little hard to hear. It sounded really far away, but I hope everyone else heard it. What I liked about it was that he got right to the point. He knew exactly what he was going to talk about. He hit those points. He told them exactly what he needed from them and what they were going to be practicing today. And yeah, it was in less than 2 minutes. I don't know that normally happens in dealerships all over the United States. He looked like he was very well prepared for the training, is what I mean.
Well, you can see he was using his worksheet, and he kept the audience focused. So I would say get your stopwatch out on your cell phone and time yourself on all of your meetings. I would suggest that you screenshot your meetings and text it to all of your managers so you guys stay focused. This is something that I execute in the dealerships, and just making sure that we're mindful of our time so that we're not burning people out. We offer a curriculum like this in our company, but most importantly, I think that you'll see that there's some important information in the NADA workforce study that would lead to this has got to be a focal point in the dealership. We have to help people thrive and succeed, and training is something that really there's a big lack of. So here's some things that you can do right now. Get a career path together for your team. that shows them a 3-year growth plan. Now remember, the 3 years is really that sweet spot where we want to get people to stay on board. So you want something that's structured for year 1, year 2, year 3. If you need some help, again, just email me and I'll give you something that we've been using in dealerships. Put your training curriculum together in a sequential order. Identify the tools, the checklists, the activities, the resources that you're going to need to make sure that you can really execute some powerful training in your dealership. Always select a training date and time. You got to really be consistent about this. So what I end up doing is I do a Dropbox, and I have there's dedicated managers for each one of their teams that has to do the training. They work on a curriculum together. They're always at least a week ahead, and if not 3 weeks ahead. They upload their training handout, their training meeting, and the recorded video along with the screenshot of their stopwatch into that Dropbox for week 1. And then you have somebody, maybe it's someone in your dealership that can hold them accountable to just looking it over and making sure that you're on point, and most importantly that it's in there. Always use a handout for all of your trainings, and I like recording the meetings, especially as you get, if you're new to this, and with only, over 52% of people hardly ever doing training in the dealership based on this call today, or I should say on the attendees on this call today, I would say record the meetings so that way you can evaluate, assess your presentations, and really perfect them. You want to make sure that you're collecting important data. So whatever you're training on, make sure that you're collecting the data, see the outcomes, so that you know you're making progress. So that's what I have for today. I hope you have some questions for me.
Jen Suzuki, thank you so much. Okay, take a breather, get a drink of water. Audience, let me talk to you for a minute. I need your questions. We need some questions for Jen Suzuki. You got questions? She has the answers, I promise you. So write in your questions. We're going to get to the Q&A in just a moment. Before we do that, I do want to direct your attention over to the handouts section of the GoToWebinar interface. So what you want to do is you want to look at that interface and look for the word handouts. It's probably more towards the bottom. Click on the little arrow next to where it says handouts, and it'll open up. And in there's 3 handouts. So yes, you can download Jen Suzuki's slide deck from today, but there's 2 more in there. We have a sample training calendar. So if you want to check out what a training schedule might look like, this is the one you're going to need. And then as Jen had shown you earlier and went into deep detail about it, the Manager Training Agenda Worksheet. It's all right there. It's available for immediate download, and you have until the very end of this broadcast to get 1, 2, or all 3 of those handouts downloaded and into your computer so you have those as a reference, okay? So once again, we have the slide deck from today, we have the sample training calendar, and we have the Manager Training Agenda Worksheet, which is what you'd fill out to help you, really focus your training and get your thoughts out to your, what are you doing, Jen?
I was just reading on my webcam.
Okay, I'll do mine too. All right, so I don't know if I should have said more about any of those handouts. Did you want to add anything to that, Jen?
No, I think that those 3 things will get you started. Of course, I'm a resource. I want to help you. So, I've made a lot of mistakes doing this. I think this is it's really missing in the majority of dealerships out there. And I really have a passion for people and seeing people succeed. So if there's something that I can do to help you, please ask me.
Ask. Okay. Now, real fast, Jen, we're going to go to the next slide. And audience, if you download any of those handouts and you have a question about the handouts, guess what? I got Jen Suzuki right here. We're ready to help. Okay, so we want to help you make the most effective use of time during your training at your dealerships. So let's see what we can do about that. Now, Jen has given you so many good pointers already, but if you have a specific question specific to your dealership or your situation at your dealership, send those in. We'd love to know more, okay? Okay, that's right. Go to the next slide. Before we go any further, that's right, it's that time. If you missed it at the beginning of the webinar, I announced that our good friends over at eDealer Solutions are giving away an awesome prize on today's webinar. One lucky attendee is going to win an Echo Dot. Totally cool prize, right? So get ready, get to your keyboards. First person to write in the correct response to our giveaway question today is going to be winning this awesome prize. If you're a vendor, we're going to ask you to kindly sit this one out. This prize is intended for dealership personnel only, although we love having you on the DealerOn webinars, so thank you so much for that. All right, here we go. Good luck, everyone. Jen, do you remember the giveaway question? Do you think somebody's going to get it?
No, was I supposed to?
Do you think somebody's going to get it? I hope so. Okay, let's see. All right, audience, good luck, everyone. What did Jen say was most important when training? Do you remember, Jen? Oh, okay, let's see. No one got it yet. Interesting. Nope. These are all excellent, excellent answers, but not the answer that we're looking for.
Give him a little more time.
What did Jen say was most important when training? Oh, I think we're going to have to give it to this person right here. I think they got it. Chip Fesperman wrote in to have a clear goal for the outcome and behavior change. And what we were trying to get out of everyone was managing behaviors. Is that right, Jen?
Yes.
Yes. All right, Chip Festerman. Chip, I don't think I've ever seen your name before come across my screen. So I don't know if it's a first-time webinar attendee or if it's just the first time that you've won on my show. But congratulations to Chip Fesperman, excuse me. And Chip, if you wouldn't mind writing on in and let us know what dealership you're from so we can give you a proper congratulations while we're waiting for you to write back in. And hopefully you're not a vendor, Chip. While we're waiting for you to write back in, I do want to talk to the rest of you. I know we had one really cool prize today, but you know what? We already have our winner, and it's Chip. But so guess what? We give away cool prizes every week. So come on back to another DealerOn webinar, and that could be the day you win a cool prize on a DealerOn webinar. For right now, we're going to congratulate Chip Fesperman, who says he is from Hendrick Automotive Group in Charlotte. Congratulations, Chip. You are going to be getting your prize directly from our good friends over at eDealer Solution. Chip, if you wouldn't mind, send me your mailing address so we can get that prize out to you as quickly as possible. And thank you, everyone, for playing along. Congratulations to Chip Fesperman from Hendrick Automotive Group in Charlotte. And, of course, we got to thank our good friends over at eDealer Solutions for their incredible generosity. All right, Jen. We have our winner. Good job managing behaviors.
Oh, wow.
All right. So now we're going to get to the questions. You can go to the next slide if you wouldn't mind. There we go. All right. By the way, audience, get those questions in. All right. No. The one with your headshot. We want people to see you. Okay. So this question comes in from Kai. Kai says, in the case of a multiple rooftop dealership, can we start from the corporate and motivate the dealership to follow?
Start at corporate, get the dealerships to follow.
That is the entirety of the question.
What's the question? I'm sorry, what's the question?
I guess he wants to know if you have a lot of rooftops. Let's just give it a number. Let's say it's a dozen.
Okay.
Let's say it's a dozen rooftops.
20, okay.
Okay. So do you start the training at the corporate and then you tell each of the dealerships, hey, this is the training you're going to be doing on such and such a day? Or do you do it one by one? How would you do it? How would you do it?
I mean, if it was up to me, I've worked on a corporate level. I had 28 dealerships at one point in my career. I think getting everybody on the exact same page is totally ridiculous. I mean, it sounds like a great idea in theory, but I don't think that it's possible because, the thing is it's not like you cookie cuttered your GMs and they're exactly the same. Everybody wants something different. Everybody's got different goals and priorities. Some people are better trainers than others. Some people are just it's just everyone's different, right? So I would suggest that corporate provides some kind of a structure and helps them with curriculum, helps them with being there to support them. But I think it's up to a dealership to develop, with a curriculum that's most important to their dealership, that follows their sales process, that follows their personality, and that it's easy to use. Because if you're just given a set of curriculum, I can tell you this: you don't own it. You don't own it unless you start writing it, unless you start doing it, and then you customize it and personalize it, and then it's more real, and then people adapt better because they are like, oh, this makes sense. It's like, when you hand over a phone script, people don't get it. It's not their thing. They didn't write that. It's uncomfortable. It's awkward. It's weird. It sounds weird. That's why I like to have people write their own, following a systematic process. So maybe corporate gives a process, gives a structure, gives tools to assist, but I think dealerships have to bring it on their own.
Okay, and yet Kai wrote in, he says he has 30 rooftops. So I can understand the struggle there. And of course, we want all the dealerships to be level with, the amount of training that they're all receiving. So do we do it in order? Do we do it, I can see where the challenge would be. And you're right. Not all teachers are good teachers. All right.
Listen, I think once you get going on this process, you'll further develop it. I think step one, get something in order. Get something together. Start getting this process in your dealership executed.
All right.
Go ahead.
Kai, thank you so much. Oh, he says thank you for the answers, by the way. All right, we're still looking for some more questions, audience, so get those questions in. All right, Jeffrey has the next question. He says, what do you think is the best way to get sales managers involved in my in-store training classes? It's from Jeffrey.
Yeah. I would have them lead the activities. I would even have them get involved in presenting the examples, tag team. I actually really think tag teaming these meetings are highly effective. I used to do this with just one manager, and then I started making all the managers get involved. So it's kind of the same thing here. So you even, developing the curriculum together. So you might even say, hey, I'm going to do the guts of it, but I'm going to Dropbox it to you, have a look at it, and tell me, get acclimated. I want you to come in. I want you to deliver the examples. Hey, do these examples look like they would work for you? Do you want to add any to it? Hey, here's my handout. I'm doing the work for them, but maybe I'm having them get acclimated to it first before you actually execute the training classes. And then I would even have them do the follow-ups. I mean, you need to have people, we didn't talk about this in this session. I'm happy to talk about it on the side with anybody else, but you want to carry this on. You just launched a 10-minute training, but you need to execute the follow-ups throughout the whole week, right? Like every single day you want to develop engaging questions, you want to have multiple activities. So I would have the sales managers get involved in all of the touch-ups, I would call them, and so I hope that's helpful for you. But yeah, writing the curriculum is, I think, really important, having them be involved in that presentation.
Jeffrey also wrote in, thank you for the answer. We have such a kind audience today. Thank you, Jeffrey. Okay, next question comes in from Pete. Pete says, what's the best way to break old bad habits when implementing the new changes? Oh, Pete, I think that's a whole nother webinar, but let's see if Jen can answer it in the next minute or so.
It's so funny. The first thing I want to say is just blow those people out. Start over. No, that's so wrong. No, the thing is change is very difficult for everybody. I find that I'm so biased when I say this, so I may not even say it, but there's certain people that are going to adapt to change more so than others. If you have people that cannot adapt to a company philosophy and vision, which hopefully training is a part of that now, people will phase themselves out. When you put people on the spot, I'll tell you, let me give you a short story. When I execute this in dealerships, and without a doubt, you are going to have what I call the haters, the people that don't want to change. All right? There are people that are so scared of change. They are so comfortable with their assonitis. They sit in their seat all day.
Is that an affliction? How do you spell that?
Yeah. No, but I do see this as an epidemic, and it's funny. it's top of mind right now because somebody just recently, a client said that to me. I'm like, I like that. I'm going to use that. But the truth is, it's the truth, is you have a lot of salespeople that came up and became managers, but nobody ever taught them how to train. And so when you put people on the spot to follow process and you have accountability, some people are going to fold, especially when they have to get up there and do something new and outside the box and different. And honestly, it's one of those values that I like to instill in dealerships because if you're not changing, you're not growing, you know? And I can tell you this, there will be some casualties. Unfortunately, there will be some casualties, and people that can't adapt to change and don't want to try a new process, a new approach, something that's going to help people grow and reduce turnover and the costs associated with it, I mean, likely they'll phase themselves out.
All right. Pete also thanks you for your answer. Thank you, Pete. I love today's audience. They're all so awesome. All right. Next question comes in from Kate. Kate wants to know, what's the best time of the day to do training?
I would say, this is a great question. I would say in my experience, it's first, as soon as that team comes in. As soon as that team
first
comes
thing in the morning.
Let's get them motivated. Yeah. Well, and some people it's afternoon, right? You might have 2-3 shifts. So yeah, first thing. And the most important thing is stay committed no matter what. Do not steer away from your dedicated date and time. That's when the whole thing starts to fall apart.
Interesting. Okay. Kate, thank you so much for your question. Now just a few more questions and then we'll be closing out the show. All right. All right. Allison says, if my dealership doesn't do training, how do you get buy-in, especially for the 3-year management plan?
Yeah. I mean, it's a top-down like anything else. It's a top-down like anything else. So I would suggest that you would take information that you learned today and write up some type of a report, a summary, and I would start using that as your initiative to initiate the conversation, right? And I would give you the 3-year plan, email me for it, and say, these are some of the tools that I acquired today. I'd like to have a discussion about it and see it. I think it's meaningful. It will have a big impact on our growth, and I want to do something about it, and I want to collectively work on a game plan together, or at least get your feedback and opinion on what you think of these tools.
Okay.
This process, this approach.
I think that's a great idea. Allison, I really hope that helps you out. Just a couple more questions and then we're going to be closing out the show. All right. Next question comes in from Andy. Andy says, if we do role playing during training, should everyone do it? And how long should role playing last?
Oh my God, this is such a good question. Okay, you're so dialed in. So it's so easy to be like, okay, you and you, go. And then you're like, okay, that was awesome, done for the day. The problem is if you don't make everybody do it, you can't be sure everybody understood the curriculum. So, you know, this can happen as long as you're organized and you know exactly what the circumstance is, because you might be training on, let's say, in a phone call. Let's say I broke it down into 5 steps. I did my introduction, I sold myself, I reviewed the vehicle, I tied a second person to the appointment, I set the appointment. Let's say I'm right in the midway point of review the vehicle. I need to tell the audience, okay, we've already accomplished the introduction, we've already sold ourselves. Right now, we're in the review the vehicle section, and we need to get options and flexibility, identify hot buttons and deal breakers, right? So you just putting them into where we're at is going to help kind of move this thing along. If you don't do that, that's going to tie up a lot of your role playing because they're going to be unsure of where to go. The other thing is you have to be mindful of what the goals are, because they want to continue on to set the appointment, and you need to stop them right when the goals are accomplished and start clapping, right? Because we have to be time efficient. I would say everybody needs a turn. If you have more time, everybody gets a second turn. Remember, there's only 3 goals, so this is going to happen like literally in less than a couple minutes. Everybody has got to do it.
Okay, all right. I hear it. I hear it. Okay, thank you so much. Great question, Andy. Okay, last question, unless another one sneaks in, comes in from Jeff. He says, I'm not able to download any of the handouts. I'm getting an Adobe error. Can those be emailed to us? Yes, Jeff, they can. Email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. Tell me what you need. I'll take care of it for you. Or, of course, you can certainly email Jen Suzuki, but I'll take care of it for you. I have the handouts, all right? So email me at eliana@dealeron.com, and I'll take care of it for you, okay, Jeff? All right, Jen Suzuki, fabulous
Yeah.
presentation. Thank you so much. That was awesome. I can't believe that you.
I wish we had more time.
I know. Now, audience, I just want to remind you all, a link to download a copy of this recording is going to be emailed to you later today. Feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. It was awesome. And it's also going to be posted online within 24 hours. All you have to do is go to DealerOn.com/webinars, and from there you can view our upcoming webinar schedule or access any of our past webinars too. And yes, at the conclusion of this webinar, you're going to get a short survey. It is 3 short questions. So please fill it out. We really want to know what you thought of today's presentation. It really helps us out. All right. And yeah, if you want to see more of Jen Suzuki, and who doesn't, on July 19th, it's just coming up in just a few more weeks, Jen Suzuki and her good buddies, David Kane and Corey Mosley, no strangers to this show, I'll tell you, they're all 3 hosting an amazing conference in sunny Irvine, California. It's going to help dealerships get the most out of their digital side. These 3 powerhouse figures in automotive are going to share their experiences and knowledge. I think if you combine all 3 of you, what is that, like 60 or 70 years of experience? Oh my goodness. We're going to have to do some calculations on that and get back to you. But it's a lot of experience, let me tell you. And they're 3 of the nicest people in automotive. I can attest to that. So also want to let you know the Hare himself, Sean Raines, is going to be a featured speaker at the show. He's going to be talking about the impact of search engines on your dealership. So don't miss this one, guys. And give us the link again. It's ISPS 2017?
2017.com. And yeah, if you have not seen Sean Raines speak, you are going to love him. He's going to be speaking at our conference, and he is one of the best speakers I've ever seen.
I know.
Get you out of your seat.
He is.
Awesome.
Him and Greg Gifford together. I call them the bad boys of automotive. It's just my nickname. Whatever. But yeah.
Yes. They're really, really good people. Yeah.
They are. Thank you so much for saying that, Jen. Okay, and don't forget, I'm going to be emceeing the 3rd Annual Women in Automotive Conference. It's going to be July 9th through the 11th in Orlando. We're going to be doing all kinds of awesomeness there. Please go visit womeninautomotive.com. It's an amazing event. You're not going to be disappointed, I promise you. Hope to see you there. And invitations are going to be going out tomorrow for our next DealerOn webinar. And boy, it's a doozy. 5 essential steps to CRM awesomeness. That's right. We're using the word awesomeness. Of course, we have to. We have Bobby Hare in here. You've heard the constant complaints from your sales staff, BDC and managers. They all hate your CRM. But if your staff doesn't use the CRM properly or know how to make it work best alongside actual in-store processes, then you all are set up to fail. CRMs are an enormous investment. It's time to make your CRM work for you and get huge results. So when it comes to learning about the best CRM and lead handling strategies, we called in automotive rock star Bobby Heron to show us the way. She's been putting dreams in driveways for over 15 years and is hired by dealerships every day to fix CRM issues as well as internal process failures. Her 5 essential steps to CRM awesomeness will help you properly set up the best tool in your team's arsenal and put your store in the best possible position to succeed. That means everything from basic settings to advanced processes and all that lives in between. This action-packed, in-your-face webinar is guaranteed to give you strategies that increase buy-in and proper utilization, and then they're going to produce swift and dramatic results. The kicker? Everything can be quickly implemented in the store for free. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So hear from one of the brightest stars in the automotive industry. If you're ready to learn 5 essential steps to CRM awesomeness, you can't afford to miss this webinar, so register now. And don't forget, DealerOn's weekly webinars are held Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars and our topics, hey, contact me directly. I'd love to hear from you. My name is Eliana Raggio, so track me down online. I'm everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Google+, you name it. I'm on all the automotive social networks. Or you know what? Just email me directly, Eliana@DealerOn.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all in another webinar in DealerOn's continuing education series. Take care, everyone.